The last suitcase was barely inside the taxi when my older sister left. "Make sure you don't forget anything," Lauren called from the doorway. "Especially anything you think you're entitled to." I looked at her for a moment. Then I closed the car door. Behind her, my mother stood with her arms folded. My father didn't even come outside. I had lived in their house for 4 years. I had paid the electricity bill. I had bought groceries. I had repaired the leaking roof over the kitchen. I had even paid the insurance after my father's small business struggled. Yet on the morning I finally left, my family had decided I was the burden. Lauren had already posted a picture of me carrying my suitcase. The caption said, "Finally getting our freeloader out of the house." Within minutes, relatives were commenting. Some laughed, some agreed. Nobody asked what had happened. I didn't respond. I simply drove to my new apartment because there was something they didn't know. 3 days earlier, I had discovered a file in my father's study, and that file had changed everything. My name is Emily Carter. I was 28 and worked as a payroll administrator for a manufacturing company. I'd always been the quiet one in my family. Lauren was confident. My father, Robert, was respected in our community. My mother, Elaine, was the person everyone called when they needed advice. I was the dependable daughter, the one who never caused trouble. That was exactly why they thought they could use me. It started with a letter from my employer. My application for a higher position had been rejected. The reason surprised me. There were concerns about my financial history. I checked my credit report that evening. I expected to find a mistake. Instead, I found 3 loans, 2 credit cards, and a business account. None belonged to me. The total balance was more than $60,000. My hands went cold. I called the bank immediately. The woman on the phone asked me several security questions. Then she said something that made my stomach turn. Some of the verification information was provided by someone who appears to be a relative. A relative. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I searched through every document I had. That's when I remembered my father's study. Several months earlier, he had asked me to help organize old insurance papers. I had seen a folder with my name on it. I assumed it contained my tax documents. I was wrong. Inside were copies of loan applications, my name, my date of birth, my employer, my salary, even an old copy of my signature. But there was something else. A handwritten note. "Emily won't question it. She trusts us." I recognized my mother's handwriting. I photographed everything. Then I called my cousin Marcus, who worked in banking. He told me not to confront anyone yet. "Don't warn them," he said. "Secure your accounts first. Save everything." So I did. I changed my passwords. I froze my credit. I contacted the banks. And then I discovered something even worse. The money hadn't disappeared. It had gone somewhere. The first loan had paid for renovations on my parents' house. The second had been transferred into an account connected to Lauren's boutique. The credit cards had paid for furniture, vacations, restaurant bills, and a new car. My family hadn't been struggling. They had been spending money borrowed in my name. That evening, I confronted my mother. She didn't deny it. Instead, she sighed. "Emily, we were going to pay it back. You opened accounts in my name. We were desperate. You bought a car." She looked away. My father entered the room. "What exactly are you trying to accomplish?" "I want to know why." He stared at me. "Because you're family." I almost laughed. Family doesn't steal someone's identity. His face hardened. "Watch your words." That was when Lauren walked in. She wasn't apologetic. She was angry. "You're making this bigger than it is. $64,000 isn't small. You had good credit. We needed help. You didn't ask. You would have said no." Her answer told me everything. They hadn't made a mistake. They had made a decision. And they had decided my permission wasn't necessary. I moved out 2 days later. That's when Lauren posted the photograph. She thought humiliating me would make me look guilty. Instead, it became evidence. Because after seeing the post, an old family friend contacted me. Her name was Mrs. Wallace. She had worked as an office manager for my father's business years earlier. She sent me a message. "Emily, I think you need to know something." She had kept copies of old company records. According to those records, my father had once listed me as a minority owner of a company I had never worked for. That company had received a large line of credit. My signature appeared on the paperwork. But there was one problem. The date on the document was during a week when I had been working in another state. I had hotel records proving it. Now the pieces were fitting together. The loans, the business, my mother's verification, my sister's account, my father's signature as witness. It wasn't one mistake. It was a system. I hired an attorney named Rachel Morgan. She reviewed everything quietly. Then she said something I will never forget. They didn't think you would fight because you've spent your whole life keeping the peace. I looked down at the folder. I'm done keeping the peace. The banks began their investigations. My parents received letters. Lauren's business account was restricted. Then everything changed. My father called. Emily, this has gone far enough. No, it hasn't gone nearly far enough. We're your parents. And I'm your daughter. That didn't stop you from using my identity. My mother started crying. We're going to lose the house. I closed my eyes. 4 years, that sentence would have made me panic. This time, it didn't. You should have thought about that before using my name. The case eventually went into mediation. My family arrived with lawyers. I arrived with folders. There were bank statements, application records, transfer histories, messages, emails, and Lauren's social media post. The mediator looked at it carefully. My father's lawyer tried to explain that the family had misunderstood the arrangements. Rachel slid another document across the table. It was a message from my father to my mother. Emily has the cleanest credit. Use hers first. Nobody spoke. Then Rachel produced another message. My mother had written, she won't notice. She never checks those things. My father looked at me. For the first time, he seemed embarrassed. Not angry, not powerful, just exposed. The mediator asked whether I would accept a settlement. I said yes, but only under specific conditions. Every fraudulent account had to be removed from my credit. Every dollar had to be repaid. Lauren's business would be sold if necessary to cover the debt she had taken. My parents would sell their second property, and they would sign a written statement, acknowledging that I had never authorized the accounts. My father objected. You want us to publicly admit this? I looked directly at him. You publicly called me a freeloader. Silence. You don't get to demand privacy after using humiliation as a weapon. 3 months later, my credit report was clean. The money owed to the banks had been settled. My employer restored my promotion. And the family house was sold. Lauren's boutique closed. My parents moved into a smaller home. But I didn't celebrate. I simply sat in my new apartment one evening, drinking tea beside the window. My phone buzzed. It was Lauren. Do you hate us? I stared at the message for a long time. Then I replied, no, but I finally learned that loving people doesn't mean allowing them to destroy you. She didn't respond. Months later, I ran into my father at a grocery store. He looked older, smaller somehow. He asked whether I would ever come home. I told him the truth. Home isn't a place where people use your name without your permission. He nodded. Neither of us said anything else. I walked away with my groceries. For years, my family had mistaken my silence for weakness. They thought because I didn't argue, I couldn't fight. Because I forgave quickly, I would forgive anything. Because I loved them, I would always protect them. They were wrong. I didn't destroy my family. I simply stopped destroying myself to keep it together. And sometimes, the strongest thing you can do isn't to fight louder. It's to quietly gather the truth. And finally choose yourself. If you love emotional family stories, shocking secrets, betrayal, and powerful twists, subscribe to my channel. New stories are waiting for you. Subscribe now and join us for the next story.